You're going to remember that, aren't you?
You ready on that side? You guys ready on that side?
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Welcome to the April 3rd meeting of the Glenville Town Board. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. For tonight's invocation, I just ask that you take a moment of silence and offer your own intentions. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilman Remtor?
Here.
Councilman Galuli?
Here.
Councilman Aragosa?
Here.
Councilman Kirkland?
Here.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Here. So we have the agendas up front. There are no additions or changes to the agenda, so that's an unusual evening. So we'll just get right into item number 4, which is town council reports. I'll start on my left. Councilman Aragosa.
The GECC did meet. Some of the things that are on our agenda tonight came out of that, I believe. It was a good meeting. We got a lot of good comments during that meeting. And I think that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Councilman Kirkland.
Certainly. I have a couple of things. I would just like to remind residents that this coming Monday, bulk item pickup begins, and have your stuff out at the curb. Put it out on Sunday, the 7th, and they're going around one time. So I'll remind you of that as well. Also, I would just like to say that March storms are fabulous, and I'd like to thank the men at the Highway Department for doing a fabulous job clearing the roads this past storm. Hopefully this one avoids us and we don't get anything. And also I'd like to welcome our comptroller to his first town board meeting in official capacity.
Thank you. Councilman Remington.
No reports.
Councilman Galuli.
No report.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll move on to privilege of the floor. We do not have anyone signed up, but I believe Mr. Dumas, you'd like to make a presentation? Right. Absolutely. Please, yes, if you could, yes. So just identify yourself for the clerk so she has it for the record, please.
Sure. My name's Charles Dumas. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Lemry Chrysler. I represent Matrix Hotels and its principal, Bhavik Jarawala. In 2016, with the cooperation of the Popolizio family and this administration, my client developed the Homewood Suites at 2 and 4 Freeman's Bridge Road, just when you come over the bridge. And in the fall of 22, Mr. Jarawala purchased the restaurant and the banquet facility from the Popolizio family as they wish to retire. So he has looked to further improve that property and had a proposal into the town to remove the banquet facility and build another hotel in that location on the water just before the moratorium was enacted, Local Law 5. Subsequently, we've had some conversations with the town, and we understand the town's interest is really in that gateway. So we've contracted with the Popolizio family to purchase 6 acres of the brownfield at 34 Freeman's Bridge Road, and are under contract for roughly 2 acres, which constitutes the veterinary clinic. The fella has passed on, and it's in his estate, and so we're under contract to buy that. So it's roughly an 8-acre parcel that we're seeking to develop with a hotel in the rear and some out parcels in the front that would be maybe a Starbucks or some type of other fast food, some retail, and a banking facility. Luigi Palesci with ABD Engineers has a site plan that we'd like to just show you. He's doing his Vanna White routine. Right, I think this is working, yeah. So this is the proposed hotel. Of course, this is Freeman's Bridge Road. Back here is the Gorman facility with some tanks, which is, not particularly beautiful. So the idea here is with the hotel, it would provide a little bit of a shield to the facilities back here. This would require, this would be 4 stories, would require a zoning variance. The height limitation there is 35 feet, so we would probably need approximately 10 feet, right? And then there would be out parcels here. This would be retail, possibly a fast food Starbucks type thing, maybe a Chipotle, something of that nature, and then maybe a bank here. So we're hoping that the board will see fit to lift the moratorium, local law 5, and allow us to go forward and make some applications, take it through the planning and zoning process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you have anything to add, or?
The only thing I would add is that, this is obviously part of the town comprehensive plan. We are proposing the sidewalk along Freeman's Bridge Road, which will help unify that street trees, and also controlling the ins and outs. So as Charles mentioned, the existing driveway that shares the one road and traffic lanes, so that will be pulled in and out and we can turn in the direction. And then right now I have a proposal to right in, right out. To be in between the sidewalk, pedestrian friendly, and a lot of sidewalks internally to have a pedestrian friendly to do all the uses in the area. If we can see this development continue to go.
Thank you.
That doesn't go all the way to Maple Ave.
Not yet. So as part of the, what Mr. Farrell has in the contract, is the 6 acres of that property, 34 Freeman's Bridge Road, as well as the little vet shop. That's another 2 acres, so it's approximately 7.8 acres that you see. And we're proposing, basically from this driveway here to where the vet shop is. Hopefully that can continue.
Well, there's another proposal on Maple from the owner, not at the corner, but further down Maple. Yeah. Yeah.
And, it would be ideal if these properties
Right.
but to your point,
So Tony and I need to get in touch with you folks. We met with DOT on, there's actually a very large sidewalk project going on. I can get into that later on Freeman's Bridge Road. But one of the questions they had, Tony, for us is how we would feel about closing off the entrance on that corner parcel. There's 2, right? There's 2 curb cuts, which you don't own right now. But what does that mean for development of that property? We have to identify where those curb cuts are and talk to either the Papalizios or you on future development of that, so we know what to do with those curb cuts. So we can reach out, or you can reach out to Tony's office, actually.
sure, fair enough.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I do want to just say that I appreciate all the hard work that you and your client have put into this. I know that we, Tony and the Deputy Supervisor and I and some others have met with you folks over the years. We've had some spirited conversations, good conversations. I think it got to us to a very good point, and I really appreciate you willing to listen to our thoughts and our desires for what we like to see there. And you come back with such a great project. I really personally appreciate it. As I've told you, this property has been a subject of a sore spot for me for 15 years, and getting this going is a huge lift to the town and our gateway, and it's everything we envisioned to get going there. So I appreciate you and your clients' work on all this and your investment.
Well, just in response, I'd like to acknowledge how wonderfully friendly the panel was in terms of working through this understanding of the development process. And we appreciate it.
Thank you. Good partnership. Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to speak at privilege of the floor? Privilege of the floor is still open. Going once, going twice, seeing none. Privilege of the floor is now closed. Supervisors' comments, I do not have comments tonight, so we're going to go right into, in lieu of those comments, to take some time on a town hall discussion. So I would ask Brian, and I'm sorry, Sean, new person here, and in for Mike from C2. Really, the goal for tonight is to try to just get a conversation from the board's perspective as to what you heard last week and what you're interested in seeing as we pursue it. Not to get into details, where rooms are or anything like that, or, how we're going to do this or that operationally, but more so really at this juncture, what you heard about staying here and what you heard about going there, first impressions. And then the hope is that we go into next week's work session, get deeper on whatever direction it seems like we're going, and then by the end of April, hopefully have a real good sense of what the project will look like. So we'll open it up, I guess, first of all, we'll start with, does anybody have any initial reactions they'd like to share from last week?
Yeah, I certainly, I appreciate the, the plan that has been put forth. Myself, I always look at things as, it's better to start fresh, right? And, obviously I know it comes at a great expense, which I'm very concerned about. And that's one thing that I would like to continue to pursue and address in the future is, getting that square footage price where it really belongs. But I do like the idea of developing the other site and, having that ability to transition, okay? Because, then what do we do if we do a complete renovation of this and we're in the process of working out of temporary trailers. So I do appreciate that proposal. I look forward to hearing more about, looking into it a little bit deeper and kind of, streamlining the plan moving forward.
So you feel as though moving into the other property is the better proposal?
Absolutely, and redeveloping this into some type of, retail commercial space.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just because it's $3 million less, that's a pretty good indication why we should do that as opposed to the other. Plus, the idea of being able to move right into a building as opposed to, the turbulence that would be caused by that. That being said, we definitely have to have serious conversations about the funding and all that. But that's, that's when we get into the nuts and bolts. Which I hope we can do more of that next week. And so,
Anyone else? It's open discussion. Any questions for Brian or anybody on anything in particular? This side of the room's quiet.
Okay.
Just waiting for Sid.
well, I'll say.
They were good poker players over here.
Yeah.
I'll say I'd like to, if it's possible, to email us your numbers, your plans, your.
Sure, I got
Hey,
that. I'll do that.
You can forward that to us so we can spend some time looking at it. I certainly have enough knowledge of buildings that I can look at it and have some ideas and things that I would like to.
Yep. Yeah, and there are some, and just to let everybody know, there still are some unknowns, right? We haven't gone through the expense of doing a geotechnical investigation on that site. I mean, we have a decent idea of the soils and everything else, but there are some studies that would refine those numbers. Should the town desire to move forward with one of those options.
Mm-hmm.
But, we did also account for contingencies in that too, knowing that we're just kind of at this budgeting planning stage. Again,
Yeah, I don't want you to come up with a number and have it be 3 million short either. So
exactly, right. Yep.
I'd much rather it be the other way.
And there's a cost of waiting, obviously. When we started this, it was 5 million, then 7 million, then 10 million, and so each time we address this, we went up and up. I do want to remind the board there are other options other than what's presented here, as I brought up last week. One of them is do nothing. The second one is do something, but much less as far as addressing the most immediate of concerns. And so it isn't a or B, but there's also C and D, which I think need to be at least discussed. Obviously, if we were to do something like immediately build out the female locker rooms, make the police station safer, address some of the ADA issues we have here. That's more in line with a $3 million investment. But is it a wise $3 million to do that and not get everything you need? Those are still some questions I think we should talk about. So when you're talking about these decisions, there's also those other two options to talk about. And I don't know if you guys have anything. Did we buy you enough time to want to speak here?
I think, Chris, once you send us we can revisit. I mean, obviously, there's lots of questions. These are all unknowns, as Brian just said. I think this area makes the most sense. Which one of those two locations? And I think the newer property, a newer facility makes the most sense. But at the same time, I just want to revisit that before we have conversations next week. I mean, the grading, going back into the entrance and exit, obviously that's not going to be at the hill. So the grading, you said behind the building, you're going to have to grade up. Has that been done someplace else that we,
Oh, yeah, sure. And we carried money in the kind of the preliminary cost estimate for, retaining walls that will likely be needed to help that out. So, that we can carry that back up that grade and meet it. So, that's why you'll see in the cost estimate differential between the two options. There's a big difference in site cost numbers, right? I mean, this site is mostly developed. We're just changing some parking, we're doing some other stuff. Stormwater is relatively similar to what we have today, versus a new site where we have to incorporate, retaining walls, grading. We have to extend the utilities. We already have water and sewer coming here. So, it's just like we kind of mentioned last time. There's trade-offs to both of the options. So obviously that's a much higher site cost number. But you also can, you're getting efficiency in the fact that you have, a blank slate to work with to actually, plan the functionality of town hall, and you're not, constrained by existing conditions like you are with this building. Why one is 22,000 versus 33,000 square feet. So it's a trade-off. But yes, the site cost numbers are definitely higher on that one because of the sloping and so forth.
Can you address the potential for expansion in the new building? Is there an opportunity to meet new growth in future years?
Yeah. I certainly think so too. I mean, that's something we could also talk about too. Whether or not when and if you were to do that option and redevelop this parcel, if you would want to retain, something maybe in the back portion for potential storage or something else that, wouldn't be an integral function of the day-to-day operations of that building. But, if you have more ability to expand on that footprint than you do on this footprint, not only from a parcel size, but just the way that the building's configured and lays out within the parcel itself. So, it's you definitely have more options with that parcel, and I can understand why that's kind of seems to be the chosen preferred alternative given the logistics and of even trying to maintain town hall functions. Why you would be redeveloping this site.
And as we work into this, there's also, we can do planning now, the plan for the future, the possibility, and if we reach our boundaries on the footprint, and then we go up, and that's what the plan for in the future. But we can plan for all that stuff now, and not have to try to squeeze it all.
So I would say your expansion possibilities are much greater on that other parcel than they are on this parcel where we are.
Is there a possibility to use that grading and build a storage, like first ground storage, and then go to the first?
Tear it up?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's something we could look at.
because we have a lot of storage needs still. Kill two birds with one stone, potentially. It sounds like of the four options, does anybody think we should stay here? Well, stay here and do nothing. Does anybody think we should stay here and do nothing?
No.
Yeah.
No, for somebody that's worked here for 20 years, I'm quite familiar with this building's limitations and its issues, and that's definitely not an option.
Yeah. And I
Go ahead.
No, and I agree. I was employed with the town for 28 years. And, mechanically speaking, this building has served its purpose and it's served it well. But, we owe it to not only the residents, but the functionality of the facility, and that's what makes up the difference between the 32,000 square feet and the 21.8 that you proposed in a new building. It just functions that much better,
Yep.
right? We understand that. I think when we get into the nuts and bolts, though, and looking at, the getting beyond the conceptual plan and boiling the numbers down, what makes sense, to Chris's point, do we integrate some stuff into the slope where we can utilize that and cut down on costs somewhere? I don't know. So I think as we continue to develop this plan, we need to look at how we can, really streamline it and make it efficient.
Yeah, and just one kind of point to just reaffirm from last meeting, as Michael mentioned, Michael laid out a footprint based on what was perceived over the years and discussions back and forth about space needs and everything else. Obviously, should the town desire to move forward with one of those options, that can all be kind of honed in, more specifically in terms of space needs and what else maybe wasn't considered in this, prior to getting those final numbers,
Yep.
which obviously are important. But I think, the idea is from the last presentation, it kind of gives you an idea dollar wise of what the implications are in terms of tax increases and so forth. So I think that that's helpful. And then, obviously it's up to the town in terms of what they want as a final product for space. But that's something C2 would work with.
Yeah, lastly, I'd just like to add, I really do think it's an enhancement for the town to add this piece of property to the rolls as well and look at, future development on this piece. So, it is town center. This is town center, and we want to continue to enhance this place. So,
Absolutely. Does anybody believe the option of staying here and doing something light, the immediate needs as an option? Investing 3 to 4 million and just,
Well, I think they're all still options. But, is it the best option? I don't know. We've got to figure out, exactly how we're going to pay for it and all that. And then we can really come down with a plan.
does anybody like that option?
I don't think 3 or 4 million, this place is gonna be obsolete. It's gonna be half, which you might as well start looking at,
And
Right.
there's no potential for growth after you spend it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like most folks are centering around the move over to the History Center property. What we can do then, I think, is start to focus in on that for next week.
Yep.
We'll,
Really hone in on the space
I think so.
that Michael laid out and kind of talk about the functionality of that.
Yeah, I don't know how deep we have to get in functionality because we'll do that with the department heads.
Yep.
But at least, look at, okay, what's our schedule here? What's breaking ground to moving in?
Yep.
How long is this going to take us? Kind of, we'll working with Josh, we'll revisit the numbers. I presented the numbers last week or whenever we met last to, indicating what the bond would be and that type of stuff. We have a bunch of bonds coming off in 25, 26, 27. Josh and I had a conversation on that, and that's going to free up a lot of space. But we'll just have all those conversations next week, and then take the 17th. Oh, this says April. Sorry. I'm sorry, it says March. The 17th. We'll try to have a decision.
Okay, sounds great. And in the meantime, if you have any other questions that pop in your head, please let me know, or if there's any additional information we can give you. All right, thank
And
you.
I'll share all that with everybody. So we can have the information by next week.
thanks.
thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the evening. Hopefully there's not too much snow out there or any at all. Oh, freezing rain. It's worse. So That was the town hall discussion. We move on to item number 8. There's a resolution scheduling a public hearing to be held here on April 17th regarding amendments to the Glenville Town Code with respect to solar energy to modify certain definitions of the conform to approval standards and to the standards in the solar energy farm overlay district. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. I have to consult my notes on this to explain this to you because it's a little bit confusing, but this public hearing that we call is on a local law that would amend the general solar energy law to define large-scale solar so that that definition includes all large projects referenced in the overlay district code section. It also requires all large projects to follow the approval process for a solar overlay district and eliminates large-scale solar as a permitted use with a conditional use permit in other districts because the solar overlay requirements take the place of the conditional use permit under this new local law. Does that summarize it?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Sounds like what Dan Hill said that a week ago.
I think somebody did say it himself. Any other questions or comments on that, or any clarifications?
Just the only comment I would have is that I'd ask that you share the local law with Dan Hill ahead of time to make sure he's seen it, so they know where we're going with it.
As a liaison, and you have, if you want to give it to them.
Okay,
that would be good.
okay,
Should be on the website.
On the
It's on the
website,
website.
it's
okay,
me and on the bulletin board and
okay, very good.
the building. And I can email you too.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please go to vote.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Blue?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes,
Councilman Kirkland?
Yes.
Supervisor Hutchins?
Yes, resolution passes. Next resolution scheduling a public hearing to be held on the same night also relates to local law 6 relating to the amendment to Glenville Town Code 270 regarding solar energy farm overlay districts to the code of the town of Glenville. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. This one, reading notes again, clarifies that this local law clarifies the language used in a few provisions of the solar overlay law currently. So this would essentially marry up our definitions between the two sections of solar law that are dealt with in our code, the overlay and the other piece regarding large solar scale installations. Does that summarize it enough, Jeff?
Yeah, and it's basically cleaning up some of the language in the solar energy farm overlay district, which now dovetails into the general solar law that we have, solar energy.
Also an issue GECC brought to us.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Blue?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
yes,
Councilman Kirkland?
Yes.
Supervisor Hutchins?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 10, terminating the temporary 2-year moratorium regarding large-scale solar installations. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? As you know, this is a moratorium we put in place a year and a half ago or so regarding large-scale solar. This would terminate that moratorium. Now that we've had the opportunity to have a good look at this and a good discussion, and thank you to GECC and to Tony and the planning department and Jeff and all the folks working on this to make sure that everything was married up and squared away in our two solar codes. But with the overlay district we have, I think everybody's agreed that we have a very good handle on this. We have a very good process. We have a lot of control in the process. So it appears that there's really no reason to extend the overlay district, the moratorium any further. Any other questions on this? Seeing none, please vote.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Blue?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
yes,
Councilman Kirkland?
Yes.
Supervisor Hutchins?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 11, scheduling a public hearing to be held the same night, April 17th, regarding a local law to terminate the interim or temporary suspension on the review, approval, and/or issuance of all permits for the relating to hotels or motels within the town of Glenville. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. I think as we saw by the proposal tonight that we're interested in pursuing this proposal that they brought forward. It's I think, a great benefit to the town and to the area. We would have to remove the moratorium in order to have the planning board do the site plan review of it and approval. And so this would allow us next week after the public hearing to take up that matter. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Blue?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Kirkland?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 12, authorizing the settlement of Hanel and Neal lawsuit. Do you have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. I think we'll call on our attorney, Mr. Siegel, to give us a brief overview of this one.
Well, in general, plaintiffs Hamill and Neal brought an action for adverse possession against one of their neighbors concerning some property that the neighbor had started to use. They were successful in having a determination made that the property does belong to Hamill and Neal. It was upheld by the appellate division. In the context of that lawsuit, part of this property may have been an extension of Simmons Road, which may be a town road. And after the primary parties got through their litigation as to who actually owns the property, Hamill and Neal approached the town and said, we can resolve this whole matter if the town, instead of claiming ownership to the property, which may or may not own, accepts a permanent easement for turnaround purposes. Tom Coppola, the highway superintendent, was in favor of that solution. An easement has been prepared and has been reviewed by the highway department. And again, the highway department endorses this settlement as it serves the purposes that they need for their turnaround. And the town really doesn't need to take ownership of the land to enjoy the benefits of it. So in order to authorize the settlement, the town board has to adopt a resolution, and that's what this resolution proposes.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Siegel? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Blue?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Kirkland?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 13, approving the minutes of the regular town board meeting held on March 20th, 2024. Do you have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Just as stated, this is approving the town board minutes for March 20th.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Blue?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Kirkland?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Last item on the agenda is new business. I'll start on my left with Councilman Aragosa.
I have nothing.
Councilman Kirkland.
Nothing.
Councilman Ramichardt.
Nothing new.
Councilman Blue.
Nothing.
Okay, I have a few quick things that I wanted to say because I gave up my time as supervisor's comment for the presentation. Real quick, Legacy Park event has been canceled for this weekend due to the pending weather. Whether the snow comes or not, there's been enough rain where the site is just a mess, just muddy, and it would not be sufficient for people to move around in and get around to the different things we want them to see. We want them to see the paths that have been finished. We want them to see the house that's been finished. We want them to see where the performance area is going. It just isn't a good thing for people to walk around on that. So we've moved it to May 18th to give us enough time to hopefully dry everything out and have a little better weather. So May 18th is when that will be taking place. You all might have read in the Gazette that there's some ideas or discussion between Scotia and Glenville regarding the history centers. Both history centers are in disrepair. Both history centers probably don't have much of a life left. And somebody brought up the idea somewhere along the line. I called the mayor on it, and he and I haven't had that discussion yet. So we had the discussion. It sounds like they're interested in consolidating the Scotia and Glenville History Centers into Yates, which seems like it's a great idea and good working of, together the two municipalities. And so we're going to continue pursuing that. I just want everyone, to be aware of that idea that that's out there. And I think it puts more pressure on the town to make sure we get going on, the funds that we do have aside for it, get those going and get work done on that immediately, because if we are moving over, that history center has to go, and we have to have a plan, and we need time to get that all set up as well, and that's the idea, to get it to Yates. Tony and I just want to report, had a good meeting with DOT on all the different sidewalks. So there's, the great news for you folks is Freeman's Bridge Road is going to be very pedestrian friendly very soon. But we are working on sidewalks to connect the bridge, Freeman's Bridge Road, all the way up to Dutch Meadows. Dutch Meadows is going to start their sidewalk, so we'll have a sidewalk into Legacy Park, connecting the neighborhood across 50 as well. We've got the 3-mile loop already done, which will have a ribbon cutting on, I'm hoping in the spring. There's some little cleanup work we have to do, but there's a 3-mile loop around the river right off where the hotel property is. There's just so much going on down there with bike paths and sidewalks and pedestrian friendly stuff. It's going to transform, and we're very excited. You're going to be a huge part of that for us. I also want to just point out that, well, we'll save that one for next week because we got too much going on. The last thing I want to talk about is that Kathy Gatta came in today from Freedom Park. She wears a couple hats. She's a county legislator and also on the Freedom Park Board Foundation. And she left a letter, and she asked me, she wanted to be here to read it, but she has a different, she had something else she had to do tonight, so she asked me to read it, and I just will read it for the record. This is from the Freedom Park Foundation, and it's addressed to Supervisor Ketzley, Glenville Town Board, and the Capital Region Veterans Memorial Board of Directors, and it reads, "We would like to extend our gratitude to you for addressing the concerns raised by the Freedom Park Foundation regarding the proposed event space at Legacy Park. Your responsiveness and willingness to consider the impact on Freedom Park demonstrates your commitment to fostering a collaborative and inclusive environment in our town and our village. The decision to revise the original amphitheater to a more intimate pavilion-style structure not only safeguards the unique identity and purpose of Freedom Park, but also promotes harmony and cooperation among different entities within our community. It is heartening to see our local government working in tandem with community organizations to achieve mutually beneficial outcomes and uphold the values that make Glenville a special place to live. With sincere appreciation, Freedom Park Foundation Board of Directors." And I want to thank them for such a kind letter and for their willingness to work with us. And I think, just as they say about us willing to be cooperative and collaborative, I really want to thank them for doing the same and working with us on that. And I think our community is much better for both the Freedom Park project and also our Legacy Park project. And it's just a very rich environment to live in. So congratulations, everybody. I think we made some folks happy, which is not usual. So congratulations. With that, I have no other new business, and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Yes. You're gonna take it.
Nice short one.